GM, everyone. Welcome to Codebase Virtual Pitch Day, my friends. Good morning, and welcome. We have our grand finale of Avalanche's flagship incubator program. Over the past 10 weeks, 5 bold Web3 startups have built, refined, and prepared to launch the next wave of innovation in our ecosystem. And today, you'll see that vision come to life. So to kick things off, please join me in welcoming the founder and CEO of Avalabs. We have Dr. Emin Goon Sarer.
Hi, Brady. Hi, everyone. It's a great pleasure and a privilege to be here. And I just want to take a couple of minutes of your time and talk a little bit about my own journey and share with you sort of the process that brought me to where we are. And maybe some of it will resonate with you as entrepreneurs. Some of it might resonate with you as lifelong learners. And maybe some of it, might be useful. So I just want to tell you the story of how I ended up where I am. And it all starts out with me. I think my life sort of starts as a graduate student. I always think of my actual professional beginnings as me in grad school, a very young, very curious 22-year-old me wanted to learn all about building large, complex systems. And I wanted to go and study, at the end of my undergraduate, I wanted to learn more. And I realized, hey, master's programs cost money. But if I enroll in a PhD program and they actually pay me to study, I'll just enroll in a PhD program and then I'll maybe leave with a master's. Joke's going to be on them. And of course, the way the programs are structured and the way you're faced, you're given all these really interesting problems, it sucks you in, and it's impossible to walk away from that life. So I found myself at age around 29 or so at Cornell University, and I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did want to change the world. That was clear. I wanted to leave my mark, as we all should. So. I found myself there surrounded by some people that are absolutely great in their fields. And this was, I ended up being a professor there for about 19 years. So I started out, and one of the first things I looked at was building large, complex systems that organize and create some kind of structure that makes it easy to look things up. So essentially a database, a distributed database, where the participants are not maintained by a single entity, but instead by volunteers coming together. That was the initial impetus. Then I started looking at incentivization. It turns out that in these large systems, it's very difficult to make sure that everybody does the right things. It's like as with any human endeavor, there are people who want to take things, and there are very few people who want to give things. And so I started building something called karma, some kind of a currency to get people started. But it was clear to me that the world was moving in an interesting direction. And what's that direction? Well, if I looked around at Cornell, I saw these people. My office was right next to John Hopcroft, who invented Quicksort, right? So all of you must have heard about it. And I was a couple doors down from Juris Hartmanis, who invented O notation. So those people did their work on large mainframes, like big, giant honking machines, and they kept at every lunch. Hartmanis would talk about how he would walk around with a deck of cards, and if you dropped the deck of cards, then you had to sort out your program. Your program was jumbled up, etc. And so that's clear, right? That's how computing was in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Then it moved into isolated PCs in people's dens. And then something magical happened, and we started moving into networked computers. So I was surrounded by other people like Fred Schneider and others who are absolute legends in distributed computing, client-server style. What does that mean? It's clearly a setup where somebody operates a service, and we are beholden to that service. We go to Zuckerberg for the Facebook service. We go to Google for Google search services, et cetera, et cetera. And in every such endeavor, we are at the behest of these people who operate these servers. We are serfs, if you will, and they're the vassals. They're the landowners, and we are at their disposal. And a lot of the sort of the scandals and the outrage that has happened over the last couple of decades stems from that power imbalance. So viewed through this lens, what was clear to me Okay, so I'm sure this has happened to you before, where you can see where the future is going, but other people are stuck in their ways, right? They're stuck thinking that client server is the only thing that's here that's ever going to be. I had a lot of colleagues who worked at research labs. They were paid by Microsoft, they were paid by Facebook, and they kept saying peer-to-peer isn't going to go anywhere. Peer-to-peer is dead. There is no business model, And their argument absolutely disingenuous or just short-sighted. So one of the big challenges that you're going to have, I think, as entrepreneurs, anybody who pushes the envelope of human knowledge, is other people will not be able to see what is clear and obvious to you. And it's clear and obvious to me, and I'm sure it is to you as well, that the next stage in the evolution of computer systems are Byzantine fault-tolerant systems. There are systems like the ones that we work on based on blockchains, where a lot of nodes come together that are not under the control of any one entity, and yet they carry out an essential task, even if some of them might be compromised, even if some of them might have ill intentions. So this was incredibly frustrating. I'm sure you will be frustrated as well. At the moment, I'm frustrated with some of the lawmakers in DC, for example, who clearly cannot see. They think the world will always be the way it is. The banking world will always, they think, be client server. You will always be at the begging for scraps from a bank. You will always be at the mercy of a bank. You will always be charged fees by a bank. That's what they think. And yet we can see that's not how the world's going to be. So that was one of the big problems that I faced. And I'm sure it's one that will resonate with some of you. The other thing, of course, was the blockchain space itself. When I found the space, I was like, okay, I started working on it in 2002 before the space got created. But when I started, stepping into it after Bitcoin came out, I found that this new structure, blockchains, it's a much more limited form of Byzantine fault tolerance. But that nascent space was going to be the future. It was clear. But the space faced a big fundamental problem. And what's that big fundamental problem? It was scale. The systems that people could build, they could handle a few transactions per second and no more. And the scale that we needed to be able to trade every asset on Earth just wasn't there. So there was some enormous scientific breakthroughs that were required to take us to the next level. And that's where things started to get complicated. There were people, and I'm sure you'll notice this as you look around, there were people in the space who seemed to do nothing but go from place to place, to conference to conference. They spent all their time online talking to people. They spent all their time on planes going to conferences, and none of their time actually building. And that, I thought, was, even if you don't know anything about the technology, the things that were coming out of these people, you could bet on not working because they're not actual builders. You could bet against anything created in such an environment as not being able to actually address the challenges. These people were there for ego gratification. They were not there to solve the fundamental problem. So one of the key things that we had to do was step away from this and break that culture of constant talk and lack of delivery, of constant Elon Musk style holding something up ahead of people, a shiny object, and dragging them on with some kind of a grand vision that anybody could come up with without being able to deliver. So one of the things that completely differentiates us as both, I think the people who started Avalanche, but much more importantly, the community as it is now, the set of people who are attracted to the system, the platform, is that we deliver. We are not here for talk and talk and talk. We're not here to dazzle people with Greek letters. I've written so many papers. I've run out of. There have been papers in which I ran out of Greek letters. I had to import additional fonts to have the alepphs, etc., that to just annotate the equations that I was using. But that's not going to solve the problem. If I was in this for ego or for anything else, that would have been what I put forth. But no, we are here to actually build things. And when we started building things, as I'm sure some of you went through, we started building things in a bear market because we operate in a space that is coupled to a business cycle, because there are valuable assets involved. There are fluctuations. The value of these assets go up, the value of these assets go down. On any given day, a 30% move. So that makes the space interesting. That makes the space exciting, but it also means that there are these troughs of depression among entrepreneurs. There are times when you look around and it feels like the bull market will never come back. There are times when it feels like there are movements that are happening outside of us over which we have little control, and they seem unfair. And that's entirely normal. Every nascent space goes through this. Ours is even worse because it's coupled to business cycles, so it's exacerbated. But even without this, of course, like just if you look at the dot-com era, you will see similar busts and booms and busts and booms. I will remind you that the enormous wealth created on the internet, created by internet entrepreneurs, happened after the dot-com bust. So similarly for blockchain, the best is yet to come. The big sort of explosion has not happened yet. There are a couple of things that did happen. I do believe now that scaling is no longer an issue. We showed the world how to structure blockchains. We showed the world to break the confines of a single chain. Avalanche is a multi-chain system, unlike everybody else. So it's not like Solana, it's not like Ethereum, it's not like Bitcoin in that sense. And it is, there are two others, there's Polkadot and Cosmos, that have a similar architecture. They have their own issues that make us that we don't suffer from, and that's one of the reasons why we attract much more attention. So now we find ourselves in a mode where we're distinctly separate from how we used to be about, I would say, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it wasn't clear how the scaling problem would be solved, and in fact, people were telling us, "Oh, it cannot be solved. Here's a trilemma. Here's some meaningless words I made up." And without proof, I will just assert that this cannot be solved because I don't know how to solve it. Well, they don't know how to solve it, but it's now at a stage where there are many, many, many demanding applications operating simultaneously on Avalanche, and I'm super proud of it. Another pitfall in times like this, when you have a big problem, is that the problem is all-consuming. It attracts people, and even after the problem has been solved, there is a cadre of people who've come to the space with that problem in mind, whose behaviors are shaped by that problem, so they just emulate it. Those of you who know cargo cults will know about the islanders in the Pacific who saw the American planes land, and they saw the air traffic controllers and so forth. And once the planes left, they wanted to bring the planes back again because the airplanes brought goods and attention to those islands. So they would put coconuts on their ears and mimic an air traffic controller, and they would build wooden planes to try to attract the actual planes and so on. There's a lot of cargo culting that happens in this space as well. And one of the things that I think makes our community distinct is the fact that we rely on reasoning from first principles. We don't follow things just because some influencer on the internet said so. We don't follow things just because there's some combination of words, trilemmas, etc., that somebody came up with that somebody else is parroting. So that has allowed, I think, Avalanche to be at the forefront technologically of blockchain innovation. And the final thing, of course, has been the following. There are many others who try to sort of come up with their own scaling technologies, etc. We, of course, brought the best of science to blockchains. But we did something else as well. And I hope that as you go forth, you will do the same. And that is, at every level, to ensure our success, we worked really, really, really hard to make sure that other people participated in our success. That is to say, starting from day one, we made sure that everybody could participate on equal terms with everyone else in getting started with the system, running validators, participating, etc. And there are people with us. I hope that there might even be some people on the Codebase program right now who got started with the Denali testnet. There are people still running validators since the Denali days. So, where does that leave us? Well, here we stand in 2025. And I do believe that some of the fundamental problems have been solved, that scaling is done. We need single chain speed, granted, but infinite scaling is exactly going to be done exactly the way Avalanche has done it. You will see everybody else who fought us online try to copy us, but they're years late and they don't know. Since they didn't have the good sense to see it at the time, they won't have the correct sense when they try to copy us. So we're miles ahead on the scaling front. I do hope that the days where people LARP, the days where people try to act like researchers are gone. I do hope that the days when people try to sell tokens by posting pictures with Vitalik and others are gone. I think it's the time to do or die. It's time to deliver results. And on that front, I am super proud of the people that we have assembled here, of all of you. And I do know a little bit about some of the projects that have been built. And as I mentioned, they are at the cutting edge of exactly what's the next set of problems in blockchain. And it's so refreshing to see. So as you move forward, I do hope the best for you. I am incredibly grateful that you saw the light in our building on Avalanche. I am dedicated personally to making sure that each and every one of you succeeds. So I do hope, as a one-time professor, I was a professor for 19 years, so it's kind of hard to wash this out of me. I am individually dedicated to all of your successes. So I do hope that if you have any hangups, et cetera, you need something, do not feel, don't hesitate to let me know. And I'm super excited to see today the presentations and to take a look at what's coming down the pipeline in the exciting space of blockchains. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Goon, for your insight and obviously your continued leadership that you're bringing to the Avalanche ecosystem. I mean, it's absolutely huge that we kind of reached this point of maturity to where everyone's kind of focused on actually building real things. And I couldn't be more proud of Avalanche and especially yourself. And then, of course, the many different builders that we have and we're going to be featuring today. So again, I mean, thank you so much for joining us today, my friend.
Thank you, Rivi.
And now it's time for the main event, my friends. Over the past 10 weeks, 5 exceptional teams have been building, iterating, and preparing to share their vision with the world. But before we dive into the pitches, I'd like to introduce someone who's been at the heart of this journey from day one. Please welcome Michael Martin, Director of Developer Relations at Codebase, and also its driving force. Let me get you on up here, my friend. Hey, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Brevi. Thank you, Goon, for that wonderful talk. Really appreciate you. And thank you for all of us who are joining. As Brevi mentioned, I started and run Codebase, and this is our 3rd cohort. And it's been a real pleasure to work with all of these teams that you're about to hear from. So, what I'm here to do briefly is to let you know that we'll be having judges who will be evaluating these companies. So, while we put together the program and really nurtured folks throughout the past 10 weeks, we wanted to be as impartial as possible and bring in folks from our ecosystem, but who are not related to the program, to evaluate the companies and determine how that final prize pool is allocated. So we have Ben Murray from Helix 3, we have Matt Immerso from Blockchain Ventures, and we have, Austin Maraza from Dragonfly joining us today. They will be listening into the pitches. They'll be given an opportunity for Q&A after each one. And then towards the end of our time tier today, after the 5 pitches, myself and the judges will hop off into a separate call, have a discussion for 15 minutes. You'll all be joined from our team by our CDO, John Nahas, and our head of ecosystem relations, Brian Lieberman, to share a little bit about some updates as to where the ecosystem is today and where we're headed. And then we will come back and let you all know who the winner is. So teams will be judged on a scale of 1 to 10. Generally speaking, our biggest piece here is thinking about the effectiveness of the solution, the novelty of it, the ability of the team to actually execute, as well as then, frankly, the ability of this team to, at some point, raise additional capital to keep growing. So, our goal here with Codebase is really to enable early stage founders to get their feet wet and then continue growing, and then plug them into the broader crypto ecosystem in a meaningful way that really shows not only that they are able to build their solutions, but also building them on Avalanche is the right place to do so. So with that, Austin, Matt, Ben, I see you all on screen here. Thank you. Really appreciate you joining us. And we are going to turn it back over to Breeding.
Appreciate you so much, Michael, and the rest of our judges. This is like absolutely huge. So I'm going to just kind of start going over things. So over the next hour, you'll hear from our 5 finalists. Each team will have 5 minutes to pitch their product, followed by live questions from our panel of judges. Let me get all my folks up here. All right. So let's just get this thing started. First up, we have our friends over at Boofy. I'm going to get you folks on up here. Perfect. Now, just for folks who aren't familiar with Boofy, they're a Web3 metabank where Mercury meets Fireblocks on chain, simplifying team finances, payments, invoicing, as well as project management. And of course, to talk to us a little bit more about Boofy, we have my friend Tomas. And then let me get your presentation on up here as well, my friend. Tomas, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Bibi. Thank you so much. Ready to pitch. Let's get to it. All right.
Let's get straight into it, my friend.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tomas Cordero, founder of Boofy. And today I'm going to tell you about the only workspace teams and freelancers need. Boofy is a financial aggregator platform where remote teams and freelancers meet their new best friend. Before we get started, let me ask you to reflect on the following 2 questions. Do you work with people on the other side of the world as a team? Are you tired of having too many fintech apps? In Boofy, we're solving team challenges, disorganized workflows, expensive cross-border payments, and fragmented financial tools. There's too many fintech apps, and teams don't have a single financial workspace. Our target users are freelancers, remote teams, and anyone doing work in cross-border payments, starting with creative agencies. And we're solving their pains, getting paid when doing highly collaborative remote work, having no financial collaboration tools. We all use Notion, Figma, GitHub, but for finances, there's nothing quite like that. We think that people are scared of collaborative finances, but Boofy simplifies the spooky world of finance, making it easy by offering 3 powerful solutions. Our fiat and stablecoin system. Second, we provide easy global payments, and we bring invoicing, accounting, payroll, and team management into one intuitive AI dashboard. With our product, you connect all of your accounts securely for advanced analytics and to organize your business. You empower your teams with credit cards and payroll, and you can settle multi-currency payment flows via invoicing with AI, and more. We are redesigning a bank from first principles to cater to the future of work. In Boofy, you start by logging in with Google, you create a team, you invite your team, you connect your bank accounts and exchanges, and if you don't have a bank account, you can create one. You can start invoicing customers or requesting invoices and getting paid. All powered by Boofy, who is your AI best friend. It is not a coincidence that Boofy is an acronym for BFF. He is your new best friend, who takes B2B and freelancers and helps them through accounting and financial planning, cross-border payments, DeFi services, and project management. Our vision is enhanced by AI, where every onboarded user creates their own or several workspaces, like you would a new Notion page, with compliance running with our partner Circle for transactions. Now let's discuss the market potential. There is a massive opportunity in stablecoins. Where there's 7 million users of stablecoins in emerging markets today, this number will grow to 500 million users only in emerging markets. We will position Boofy as the leading payment platform for creative agencies and freelancers in emerging markets, while building a global platform from day one, starting out in Argentina and expanding to Brazil and beyond. Global creative agencies is a $1 billion market, doubling by 2033. Argentina is a significant opportunity with growth faster than the global average, and Brazil is a 4 times bigger market, showing expansion potential for our product. Our initial target are 375 creative agencies identified in Buenos Aires, struggling with international payments and organizing their businesses. We have a source-listed execution plan beginning with founder-led sales, with YouTube creator partnerships and product placement. Our customer acquisition cost is only $1.5, which is super low for a fintech with high viral potential. We have a flywheel growth strategy of agency to client to freelancer network effects, meaning double-digit user growth. We've conducted 15 in-depth agency interviews, and we will onboard 5,000 users. Our first year revenue will be over $4 million. Our business model is simple, a premium software as a service platform, and everything without a subscription has payment fees. Later, we'll make an announcement that will make our business model even better. We will be opening this box because sometimes even ghosts feel the need to reveal themselves. In the end, in Boofy, we're trying to make spooky things easy. We're building a platform for B2B agile teams, but due to our branding, we also target the B2C market. But that's not all. We have a special code-based announcement to make. In Boofy, we not only make spooky things easy, but we turn you into a ghost. So what does this mean? Remember the surprise box? Let's open it now. Boofy is launching a private ERC20 stablecoin, fully private, fully compliant, so you can benefit from financial freedom and privacy on the blockchain. The blockchain business privacy we will bring is unheard of, and we will make more money by doing it. 4.15% APY on every balance on Boofy, backed by US treasuries you can trust, with instant USDC conversion. Boofy aims to build confidential open finance on blockchain rails. We will start with an application and with product market fit, seek to expand to an infrastructure layer for confidential cross-border payments, AI stablecoin systems, and the future of work. Our team found each other in remote work hubs. I am Tomas Cordero. I have led remote teams and hacked solo to victory in over 20 major hackathons. Tommy Oliver, a retired esports champion who became a coding genius. Danny Godoy, whose senior design experience ensures ours is exceptional. And Sector, a viral marketist with millions of views. We're building Boofy not just for ourselves, but millions of others who face pains and problems we're solving, and for the next generation of digital workers who deserve better financial guidance than we ever had. Thank you so much for listening to our pitch. You can contact me directly via Telegram or X as CryptoPoeta, and our webpage is boo.finance and on X as Boofy Global. Let's open up the Q&A. Thank you.
Tomas, thank you so much for pitching Boofy to us today. I'm super excited for what you're building. Let me get the judges up here and see if the judges have any questions for you. You pop you folks back on up here. Our lovely panel of judges, do you have any questions for Tomas?
Yeah, first off, awesome presentation. Love everything that you guys are doing with Boofy. Can you talk a little bit more about the go-to-market strategy and specifically why you guys are choosing to start with Latin America? It feels like a really broad kind of platform that can be applied to a lot of different use cases, not really a geo-specific thing. So I'm curious why you decided to start there.
Yeah, of course. We're targeting Argentina as our main launchpad because the population of Argentina are already crypto natives. And there are also people who are working from the global south to the global north in digital service. A lot of the city of Buenos Aires economy revolves around this. And we have identified this opportunity by being part of it, being part of these communities. In the end, we see that there are no financial collaboration tools, but people are always creating new projects between one another, between friends and collaborators in co-working spaces and beyond. So there's definitely a lot of potential in this specific market to prove our solution. There's a lot of people also coming into Argentina soon. So we're hoping that those teams coming in for Dev Connect in Buenos Aires make use of our platform in order to send their teams over as well. So it really is a hub for crypto, for Web3, for technologies. So our go-to-market makes perfect sense in Argentina. And we also have a huge network, connections of people who are eager to try our solution already.
I have a question about the stablecoin. Lots of folks are launching stablecoins. What's the impetus for having your own custom stablecoin? And where's the competitive advantage in that?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. Yes, stablecoins is a buzzword now. It's one of the best use cases of blockchain technology we have seen so far. So it's definitely an interesting space to launch something. But we think that for our own purposes, right, in Boofy, we're creating this one-stop shop for businesses to manage payroll, invoicing, and so on. If you start using blockchain as a public technology, which it is, then you start to expose your own business practices and information to the whole blockchain world, right? Whoever can see it on an Explorer. So we think that launching our stablecoin is not only enhances our business model, which is great, but it also provides real value to users in terms of using blockchain for whatever it is best at, which is low transaction fees, high throughput, and so on. perfect for cross-border payments, but also for providing that confidentiality. And that's something no one else is doing in the stablecoin space. So our stablecoin by itself will be very interesting to folks because they'll be able to manage their finances privately.
How are you doing that privacy aspect for the stablecoin?
Well, we are part of an ecosystem that in Avalanche that's pushing towards that. Ava Cloud recently released their ERC20 stablecoin, which is fully audited. With that technology, we're able to use fully homomorphic encryption, and combining that with one of our providers that we thankfully got as part of the Codebase program, we cannot announce it yet, we will be able to launch the stablecoin access treasury yields with full compliance. So it is a bit of an architecture we've been assembling in the program, but it's looking great.
Great, thank you.
Hey, yeah, I'll ask maybe one quick final question, which is just to clarify, like, which services are you aggregating or like wrapping versus like which services are you actually like building and offering yourselves?
So we're creating an open finance protocol that lets you aggregate different bank providers from across the world. That's one of the technologies we're creating. So with Boofy, you can connect your bank accounts in the US, in Canada, in Brazil, in Europe already. We seek to expand upon that open finance ecosystem when we launch our own L1. So we can target also other emerging market ecosystems that have no open finance protocols. At the same time, we are aggregating platforms such as Binance, your MetaMask, and so on through partner technologies. We're also building our own AI tools in order to interact with the blockchain. Of course, the stablecoin, as mentioned, is something that we're building with our partners together as a common endeavor. There's many little things that we're making in order to ensure this platform is something that people will fully use for its UX, UI, and so on. So it's a mix of having the right partners in terms of credit, virtual card issuance, creating bank accounts from scratch, KYC, AML providers, and also those technologies we are trying to connect to them. So it makes perfect sense as a single platform that's very powerful.
Awesome. Well, if that's all the questions from our panel of judges, I want to say, Tomas, thank you once again. And I'm going to go ahead and start on the next one. We have our friends over at the Indexing Company. Let me get our judges off the screen really quick. Boom, 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 and boom. All right. Oh, and Tomas. Let me get you out of here, my friend. Awesome. So next up, we have the Indexing Company, a distributed compute network that transforms idle compute into on-demand data infrastructure. And to talk a little bit more about what they have built, we have our friend, Brock. Brock, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and pop off, and I'll let you do your thing, my friend.
Appreciate it. Cool. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm Brock, and we are the Indexing Company. We're building the neighborhood to reimagine the cloud. The average Series A company today spends over 50% of their raise just on data infrastructure. The reality is the cloud wasn't built for where we're at today with data. We have petabyte scale, you need it in real time, and the use cases are scaling infinitely. These APIs aren't flexible enough, the latency breaks the existing models, and cloud infra simply can't keep up. 65% of cloud spend is wasted on idle or over-provisioned resources, and yet cloud infra is still the default. Teams are hacking together cloud infra to keep up and bleeding cash doing it. The more big cloud scales, the more we pay. At the Indexing Company, we're daring to imagine a different future, one where all the resources we need already exist. Uber unlocked idle cars, Airbnb did it with homes. We're doing it for compute. Introducing the neighborhood. This is a global network for on-demand data processing, and it's built for the machines that already exist. There's more compute power sitting idle in the world's devices than in all the world's data centers combined. We've just never unlocked it. That's what we're here for. Put another way, the neighborhood is everything the cloud wishes it could be. We have on-demand distributed compute, data delivery in less than a second, and composable pipelines that don't lock in our customers and users. They get full flexibility, no bottlenecks, and are able to process that data where it already lives. Better yet, none of this is hypothetical. We actually built it. We've worked with over 80 companies across over 50 billion transformations, and we've generated 300,000 in revenue while saving customers an average of 70% on their data infra. The way we see it, this is what Web3 was actually made for. We're building a sustainable network and business using sustainable, decentralized incentives. This isn't built on hype. This is real usage driving real growth. Web3 has been chasing decentralized models for years. We're taking the learnings from storage, indexing, and compute solutions to build a new stack that can actually compete beyond these silos. We're going after the Databricks and the Snowflakes of the world, not staying in our lane. The neighborhood is built for the distributed future of all data, not just blockchains. So this is a network built on real usage. We're growing demand with high volume customers. We're growing supply with a distributed node network, and we're stabilizing it all by enabling builders to tap into the compute of their end users. This is the sustainable model for the future. And all of this is only possible with Avalanche. Our enterprise-grade infra is ready for institutions and can support anyone building on Avalanche from day one. And most importantly, the scale of our network, those billions of transformations, they're only possible as an Avalanche L1. We're a team of professionals working towards a larger vision. Individually, we've all worked in data-driven startups and enterprises over the last decade. And now we're combining that experience to solve something much, much bigger. This isn't about the hype of today. It's about the real solutions for tomorrow. The future is distributed. We're taking the best of Web3 and building an entirely new data stack for tomorrow. Using our collective experience, we've already served dozens of customers and proven that this model works. We're now ready for the masses. I'm Brock, and we are the Indexing Company. Join us in reimagining the future. Thank you.
Awesome, Brock. Thank you so much for that presentation. I mean, 70% in cost savings, that's absolutely huge, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and get our judges on up here to see if the judges have any questions for you. One second, Rooney. Boom, boom, and boom. Did you folks have any questions for Brock?
I've got one that I like this vision a lot, so I'm going to ask a hard one. So
Please.
A lot of folks have tried to do this in the past, and a lot of folks haven't succeeded. What are you guys doing that's different that you think is unlocking the traction you have and that will continue to do so?
I think there's two things there, but they boil down to one simple concept. We're actually solving a problem. So a lot of companies started out saying, hey, we're going to build a marketplace for compute. They don't have actual usage. There's no application for it. And so they have that bootstrapping problem. We set out to scratch our own itch. We wanted to build products in Web3 on top of open data, and we're solving for that first. And along the way, we've unlocked this larger vision by being able to bring in that volume and that scale.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Go for it, Austin.
Okay. I'm curious, like, where the token emissions come into play. Are you giving them to both supply side and demand side? Like, how are those, like, what do those deals look like? Just to get a better idea of, like, you know, I think like a lot of these projects similarly, it's kind of subsidize the costs of either onboarding to the platform or like buying the product with the token, which, you know, is fine for bootstrapping, but curious how that works.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid all the gimmicks. So with us, the tokenomics, it's more of an absorption model. The more usage that the network drives, the more consumption of tokens there is, and that can inherently absorb the emissions of additional tokens as well. Yeah, I can link you the full tokenomics paper as well, but that's the rough idea.
Why? I mean, why charge in the token, like why not just like charge in dollars? I feel like, why add friction there?
Yeah, so the part that's not in the slide, we're not charging in customers in the token. The token is an internal accounting ledger, if you will. The billions of transformations, we've hit that scale on a daily basis. This simply breaks existing blockchain models. So we're rolling this out internally as our own ledgering system, and in customers will be able to pay in stables or fiat or whatever else it might be, and we'll do that translation directly.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. Brock, awesome presentation. Can you talk a little bit more about who the ideal customer is for you guys and what the onboarding process looks like? One of my, I don't want to say like concerns about like bigger questions is, are you targeting like hyper technical people, or is this like for a broad base, like any organization can kind of plug this in?
The latter. Any organization, actually our best sales are usually to the product team, not the engineering. So this is an enablement story and a cost savings at scale. We have a self-service version of all of this where teams like Clinker are able to come in and onboard themselves. It works great out of the box. And then we also have more white glove onboarding, if you will, for our enterprises that we're going after. So these are the bigger, say, analytics firms, trading firms of the world. And this is also all geared towards today, focused on Web3 data as a go-to-market, but we are scaling beyond that.
And when, in either case, whether it's white glove or out of the box, is this like, hey, bring the neighborhood in and then you can get rid of these 3 other tools, or is this like in addition to everything else? Like what are those tools that they can get rid of in that case?
Yeah, exactly. So we, looking at the customer arc, generally, builders, hackers, they start out with APIs like Alchemy, like Covalent. Those break about the time they're doing their first raise. And we're seeing 9 out of 10 times those companies are now hiring a data engineer to build that in-house. So they'll have 5-figure AWS bills. They'll be running multiple third-party services on top of all that. This is what we can replace. So we actually got our first customers by applying to those backend engineering roles ourselves and telling them, hey, you can save way more money if you just use the company.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, Brock, thank you so much. If there's no more questions from our judges, we'll go ahead and head on over to our next pitch. And next up, let me go ahead and remove you folks on almost everyone. There we go. All right, and then next up, we have our friends over at Sherry. And Sherry turns on-chain actions into portable mini apps designed to be discovered, executed, and shared anywhere. And to talk a little bit more about what Sherry has built, we have our friend Juvenal. Juvenal, let me go ahead and pop you on up here. Hey, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, thank you. Everything good.
Yes, yeah. You said I'm looking good? No, dude. Trust me, you stole the show. All right, we got your presentation on up here. You got it, my friend.
The possibilities in the world, nature always takes the shortest path to act. In physics, it's called the principle of least action. Hi, I'm Juvenal, co-founder of Sherry, and we're building a new standard for how action happens on the new internet. The open internet gave us freedom to publish, connect, and share, but never a native way to act. That's what we believe triggers are. To the open internet, what the App Store was to iOS. The internet is changing. Every platform in history has had its breakthrough format. HTML for the web, App Store for mobile, agents for the new internet. That's the future we're building for, and why triggers aren't just for humans. Think of triggers as widgets for the agent era. And why we need a new distribution standard. Every day, millions engage in crypto feeds. Twitter, Firecaster, Telegram, Discord, but the intent dies there. Posts get shared, tokens get hyped, but fewer than 1% ever complete an on-chain action. It's not a demand problem, it's a funnel problem. That 99% drop-off is an abstract. To do one thing, users jump between dApps, wallets, tabs, approval. Each step, a drop-off. Every layer, more friction. And by the time you get to the action, the moment is gone. Let's take a real example. FIFA just launched its own blockchain platform. But what does the actual experience looks like? You find their post on X, You are hyped and you click the link. You land on a dashboard and you scroll to pick a player. Then you look to the buy button and you click it. Then you're asked to create an account. You go to the checkout, and then the intent is gone. Mini apps are fixing this. What used to take 10 clicks now takes 1. You see it, you tap it, and it happens. From dashboards to direct action. And that's the shift. And guess what? Mini apps are exploding. Right after Frame's launch, Firecaster daily active users jumped 10 times. And developers are hitting all-time highs. But here's the thing. It's all happening inside private sandboxes. That's not where most people are. That's not the open internet. We don't just need mini apps. We need an standards for everywhere. And that everywhere now includes agents. That's why we built an open directory of the triggers that you can think it as the app store, but for intent, discoverable by humans or agents and anywhere on the open internet. And this is what a standard unlocks, a true distribution protocol for the open internet. Protocols built to explore their core actions, agents recommend, creators distribute, turning triggers into content, and social platforms integrate to drive retention. That's what sets us apart from other mini apps platforms. Cherry makes it portable, open for all ecosystem and all socials. And unlike Web2 platforms that take 2 or 3% merchant fees, Cherry only takes 0.5% on the final interaction on triggers. Just a small action fee that scales with usage. Now let's meet the team. I'm Juvenal, and I spent the last years building Web3 infra. But my mission goes deeper, to help crypto reach the people who need it most. From Latin America to the world, Cherry is my way of making that happen. And I'm proud to be building with a team that shares the same fire. Gilbert, our CTO, he's a Chainlink developer expert, teaching how to build in Web3. Together, we assemble a team with deep Web3 roots, with more than 40 years of combined experience across infra, design, dev tooling, and community that knows how to ship. And we are already moving. Our first Miniton kickoffs tomorrow. Over 150 developers sign up to build new triggers with support from Avalanche. From there, we will launch our no-code tool in Q3 for creators to build and distribute triggers. And in Q4, we go mobile. We will ship a full mobile component library built in React Native. Once we scale meaningful interactions, we will launch our own Cherry L1, a purpose-built layer to store, route, and reward trigger activity on-chain. We're raising $3 million on a $20 million valuation. This raise will fund our full roadmap to grow our developer base and onboard new protocols. The internet is splitting. One side is closed on centralized platforms. The other is open, where agents roam freely and creators own their data. The open internet isn't just a concept, it's a choice. Which side of the history will you build for? Thank you.
Juvenal, just want to say, man, really, really appreciate what you've built, and very, very excited to see like how the overall market kind of accepts triggers and like what that kind of brings to the table for the entire ecosystem. I'm going to bring up our judges right now, and I'm going to check out, see if they have any questions for you, my friend. Let's see, in Austin. All right, our judges are up. Do you folks have any questions for Juvenal?
I can go first. Yeah, I guess that, from my perspective, I think most platforms have to earn the right to become a platform, and that typically looks like building a first party application or use case on top of the platform. Is that something that you guys are planning to do, or is it basically just like we're gonna ship this infrastructure and like expect other developers to come and bootstrap it for us?
It's a little bit of both. In one hand, we know that the triggers that we're building templates for creators to actually create those experiences. And those are going to be like referral links that they can just share on their accounts. Obviously, there are new developers because it's an open source protocol. These new developers can create their own triggers. And these triggers can be shared with their community and start growing. Also, we are, for example, partnering with the Arena, the LFJ. We have different like protocols that are already established. And what we want to do is like to create experience for them that they can go to other networks and onboard to their network. So that's the idea, that there's different ways of how to create a new trigger, even if you are a new protocol or if you are like an OG and everyone knows you. And it's very easy, it's very clean and forward.
Got it. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome job, guys. Super cool idea on utilizing triggers in a really interesting way. I'd love to understand what kind of the North Star metrics are that you guys are aiming for to like sell to customers. Is it, hey, we're going to improve your customer conversion, we're going to increase the number of eyeballs on here, we're going to decrease the onboarding time? Like, what are those metrics you guys really care about? And then based on some of the early traction you've had so far, like what kind of value prop are you guys offering to customers?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We are a B2B model, B2B2C model. So we have different customers. In one hand, we have social platforms that they will win more retention because they will create like a super app. It's easier to create a super app because now you can create more functionality to it. Then we have wallets. Wallets can also integrate us and they can create more interactions for their wallet. That is also a channel for them. For, let's say, developers or builders, it's like a new way to create and to iterate fast, ship fast. They don't need to build a full front end actually to create a new experience. And what we're doing is creating the North Star metric for each of them. How many platforms are we integrating? How many developers are we onboarding? And how many creators are we helping to create more experience and that they are creating these triggers through the no-code template? So yeah, we are not focusing just in one North Star metric. We are having North Star metric for each customer.
Gotcha. And within each of those customer groups, then, like, I think I'm just struggling a little bit to understand, like, what's the pitch to them of like, hey, use us and we'll save you 80% of your costs, or we'll increase like the customer like eyeballs by like X%. Just like any hard numbers you guys have that have come out so far, really helps light up like what the value is to the customers that are adopting you guys.
Yeah, in terms of the extension, like they can even create like they will focus on creating more interactions. It will depend on the number of triggers that we create. We are just launching, so we don't have like cool metrics. That's the idea of this iteration. So first, we're launching our first mini-ton. This mini-ton will help us understand which mini apps or which triggers are the developers creating. And from those experience, we're iterating on see which are performing the best, which are performing worse, and help also this team to continue building their stuff. Once we have those usage with that user base, now we are giving that to the creators. And then the creators will see which are performing the best. So at the end, we can see it as an info file in some way, because the information that they are providing us will help to iterate and to continue building more triggers and better triggers. So that's the way we are shifting.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
How are you guys doing the value waterfall? Because you have independent folks who can create triggers, and then you have folks who are going to be consuming those triggers and paying for it. What does that waterfall look like from consumption all the way down to creation?
Okay, I want to explain the business parts. I will let Gilbert explain how it's going to be like in the technical side. But in the business side, we're creating different products. We know that there are like a lot of protocols building mini apps. We knew that there was a big issue with distribution. So instead of just building a distribution channel, the flow that like it works is the next. So we will launch our first initial triggers. Then those initial triggers we will share with the community. Creators will go to our chat that you saw on the demo. They will chat and to prompt new experiences on that. Those mini apps will be shared on it. A lot of people will see those mini apps and they will click those mini apps, and then they want to create their own mini apps. So they will go to the chat, create their own experience, and to monetize through that. So that's the referral circle. So now we're partnering with LFJ, so they are creating like swap stuff. But then in the future will be more triggers from different nature. So once we have a protocol creating more interactions, the other protocols will try to join because they don't want to miss that new iteration. And then because it's an open source platform, they will create their trigger without the need of us. They just need to go out through our docs and create their own trigger. So that's the flow. Like, it's all about the distribution, and for all the distribution comes with the creators.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions from our panel of judges, we'll keep things going. I want to say again, thank you so much, Juvenal, for your presentation. And then we're going to pop all you folks off really quick. And then let's go head on over to our next team, and that's going to be Nameless. Nameless is the data layer for fan engagement, helping sports IPs capture and monetize that 99% of fan interactions that go untracked. And to talk a little bit more about what they've built over at Nameless, we have our friend, Alejandro. Let me get you on up here, my friend. Boom. How you doing, Alejandro?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
Hey, happy to have you, my friend. Let's get your presentations up. I'll go ahead and give you the floor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alejandro, and I've been obsessed with sports my whole life. I'm a lifelong Real Madrid fan, 12 jerseys in my closet, never miss a match, always online. But to the club I give my life, money, and time to, I don't exist. No season ticket, then I'm not in their system. I'm invisible. And here's the punchline. The sports industry is built on passionate fans, but it barely knows them. And I'm not the exception, I'm the rule. Take FC Barcelona, 350 million fans online, but just 3 million in their database. That's less than 1% captured. So what's stopping them? Their data is everywhere, scattered across ticketing, merch, social, sponsorship, you name it. And these systems don't talk to each other. Fans are showing up constantly, but those interactions stay siloed. We call this the invisible fan problem, and it's costing the industry $39 billion a year. And when fans are invisible, sponsors get no ROI, campaigns can't personalize, and teams miss out on monetizing their most valuable asset, their audience. So we built Nameless, the data layer for sports fan engagement, capturing and connecting the 99% of interactions that go untracked. We don't need more engagement platforms. We need a system that makes them work together. Nameless is the connective tissue that makes your existing tools smarter. Because fandom isn't a transaction, it should be a journey. Nameless makes that journey visible, measurable, and monetizable. Here's what it looks like. Plug and play APIs that capture fan behavior wherever it happens. A dashboard that turns scattered data into real-time insights. And front-end plugins to customize campaigns based on this fan activity. Our go-to-market is simple. We start with pilots. Our sweet spot, sports organizations with globally distributed fan bases, and inevitably, fan data silos. From there, we'll scale our platform into a plug-and-play product suite, and the sky's the limit. We will give sports organizations the easiest solution in the market to find their nameless fans. During Codebase, we began working with the United States Golf Association, one of the largest federated organizations in U.S. sports. They manage 3.3 million golfers across the nation, but have no unified way to understand the golfers in their ecosystem. The USGA came to us with the need to better understand their existing member journeys, but more importantly, convert invisible golfers into members. Nameless is set to capture all facets of golfer activity, giving them a full picture of every golfer journey across 57 different state golf associations. The result, stronger sponsorship ROI, increased membership and retention, and a clear path to growing golf participation revenue at scale. And the USGA isn't just a customer. They're the first domino in a much bigger movement. If Nameless helps convert just over 5% of invisible fans, that's 2.5 million new profiles and over 100 million in new annual membership revenue. And that doesn't even include sponsorship, merch, or digital content upsells. At scale, this is $1 billion unlock, and no one's built the infrastructure for it until now. Today, Nameless is a lightweight middleware, but our vision is to become the open protocol for real-world engagement on-chain. Here, Nameless becomes an on-chain primitive, unlocking a new layer of smart contracts tied to verified behavior. And what does this world look like? Dynamic sponsorship contracts, composable data across organizations, and the building blocks for programmable commerce. This is how you onboard the next billion users. You meet them where their passion's at. This team has been in the trenches, running, shipping, and building across sports, live events, and crypto. We've worked together for years. We all went to college together. And as avid sports fans, we've lived this problem. Now, we're solving it at the protocol level. We didn't mention blockchain until now. That was by design. Because Nameless isn't a crypto wrapper, it's a real solution. But under the hood, Web3 is the unlock. A world where fan actions become verifiable, programmable, and transactable. We joined Codebase because we believe Avalanche and its growing sports ecosystem is where this vision comes to life. Nameless turns fragmented engagement into connected, monetizable journeys, because knowing your fans means growing your business. If you believe fandom should be measurable, programmable, and on-chain, we're building the bridge. Let's talk. Thank you.
Alejandro, thank you so much for your presentation and for what you'll be building. As soon as you gave the stats, automatically said this is absolutely needed. So really, really thank you. Let me get Austin up here as well, and then let's get the rest of our judges. Let's get the judges on up here, see if they have any questions for you. All right, all the judges are up. You folks got any questions for our friends at Nameless?
Yeah, real fast, awesome job, guys. I think between Nameless and then FIFA's announcement at the Avalanche Summit 2 weeks ago, Avalanche definitely feels like it's becoming a hub for a lot of the sports type businesses. One question that I have is, how are you guys actually using blockchain in this? I think about the core issue of like, hey, there are data silos where it's spread all over the place. We don't actually have access to a lot of different customers. A lot of that can be solved with like traditional data lakes. So I'm curious where the blockchain portion of this comes into play.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect question for my co-founder and CTO, Austin. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for the question. And, we love getting this question because we've worked through this tons of times. We started as a Web3 engagement platform for sports brands. We shifted to using the blockchain as the be-all data lake for every interaction. And we just realized that, you need to create real utility out of using the chain. No sports organization really wants to start talking blockchain from the start. So we've moved all the Web3 infrastructure stuff to the background. We create wallets when users are entered into the system, and we allow for teams to put interactions on chain so that the future of their fan engagement, the future of their sponsorship contracts can use smart contracts and data that is verifiable on chain. It's by no means the blanket default, but it's the future of sports. We believe heavily that the future of sports is in blockchain engagement, is in Web3. We have the on-roads to monetize and capitalize on there, but we first have to solve the data issue. And, we do use Web2 and Web3 solutions for doing that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
I have a question about go-to-market. So you've got a phenomenal initial use case here with the USGA. How much of your go-to-market is predicated on kind of top-down coming in? There's a relatively small subset of organizations, NBA, NFL, et cetera. Are you targeting at the organizational level, or are you going to the teams below them, or both? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think we're flexible. Our go-to customer are these big sports IPs with distributed global fan bases. And so we have a lot of connections in sports. We know that sports organizations work better with technology partners that are tailored to their individual needs. So next up, after the USGA, we'll be pitching to the Spa Grand Prix in Formula One, the Belgian FA, Football Association, and we're also going to be doing some work this summer with the Mallorca Championships. They're a grass court tennis tournament tune-up right before Wimbledon. So a little bit of variety there, but the thing that brings all these customer profiles together is their distributed global fan base.
Thanks.
Hey, yeah, I guess maybe following up on Matt's question, I'm curious. Like, okay, I understand what you're using blockchain for, but I would like to maybe dive a little bit deeper into like why. I guess like from my perspective, it's like, okay, it's very clear, why the teams would want this, or like why the customers would want this. I can maybe see like why like the people with the data would want to contribute it and get paid by them. It seems like a sort of a one-to-one relationship between like the data providers and the data customers. Like, why have this on like a transparent blockchain?
Yeah, I think that's a great follow-up because we hinted at kind of where we want the future of our protocol to go, but we do believe that if we build a platform where sports and consumer data more broadly can be put on chain, we solve a lot of issues with just decentralized identity, so a unique identifier across all these systems, programmable permissions for data, and also data ownership issues as well. And then lastly, we build a foundation for new smart contract providers to come in and leverage this data for what we're calling smart sponsorships. So we're working with our pilot groups to figure out kind of how their current sponsorship models work and how it might benefit from real-time verifiable understanding of who's doing what within my ecosystem. So blockchain is really enabling us to do that in a verifiable, trustless way. And I think we're really excited about the potential of that once we solve the initial data issue for a lot of these organizations.
Got it. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, again, appreciate you folks over at Nameless for what you've been building. Next up, we're going to have our friends over at Hashfire pop on. Let me go ahead and get you folks on up here. Ben. And then, so Hashfire turns legal agreements into bulletproof, programmable digital assets, my friends. And to tell us a little bit more about what they're building, we have our friend John. Let me get John on up here. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, Breevy, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well, my friend. Very excited to watch your presentation. So I'll let you have the floor from here.
Great. Glad you're excited. I want to thank Avalanche and this unbelievable ecosystem and this program that has been so generous with us. Today, I want to talk to you about how Hashfire is turning contracts to cash. So the first thing that we ask ourselves at Hashfire is, what is a corporation? And it's rather reductionist, but I think it's actually true. It is literally just a collection of agreements. If we can bring these agreements on chain, we are bringing on chain the full corporation. This is adoption. This is a story of the massive onboarding moment for Web3, and Avalanche becomes an execution layer for this. We're fundamentally redefining contracts. These are Ricardian contracts that we are prosecuting here. We are the programmable agreements engine that allows for validated payments, financing, and automation of any agreement. And you might be asking yourself, why does that matter? Well, in my case, I lost a $250,000 payment because I lost a contract. Couldn't authenticate it, couldn't validate it, didn't get paid. I'm not the only one. There's trillions of dollars of receivables that are floating around the US economy in PDFs and spreadsheets. There's people who are falsifying these documents, and there are people who are missing out on massive amounts of money. But most importantly, there's people who don't have liquidity. And if you're a founder, you understand cash is king. This is how we're doing it. The first piece of this is DocuSign on the blockchain. We make these contracts immutable so they don't get lost like mine did. We authenticate it. We use a record URL that's both on chain as well as on our server that gives you a dedicated 24/7 permanent URL where you can track the status of any contract. So that means encumbrances, counterparties, amendments, cancellations, it's all there. And we validate all this with our triangulation of truth protocol. The next piece, we add payments directly into the contract. Merging payments into the contract is a massive unlock. The smart contract is then able to collapse the space between finance and accounting. And most importantly, we now have a built-in escrow for our lenders. This is a lockbox effectively. And this is what powers our DeFi integration. This allows any DeFi protocol or any fund or any institution to lend directly into this self-sovereign digital asset. We really think this is atomizing assets on the balance sheet. And we're already doing this. We've shipped our L1. We have a fully functional e-sign protocol. It looks like DocuSign. You guys should sign up and use it right now if you're watching at home. We have a no-code API so that you can have your executive assistant integrate this into your application. We have over 3,000 signed contracts already on the system. Payments is in private beta. All of our custom hashing, our safe processor, our relayers, and our dedicated mobile application are live right now. This is what this looks like. You upload an agreement, your counterparty signs it. We hash all of this data on chain. If that payor is approved in our system, you get a finance button, hit it, instantly, atomically, in 250 milliseconds, get 97% of the par value of that purchase order right into your wallet. And because this is linked to the smart contract that's married to that contract, it's going to atomically settle with all of the funders of that acquisition of that receivable. So this all happens programmatically. Our first pilot is with the state of Wyoming. At Avalanche Summit just last month, Anthony Apollo, the executive director of the Wyoming Stable Token Commission, announced that Wyoming is working with Hashfire to bring all of their vendors on chain and allow them to accept payment in Wyoming stable token, which means that they will immediately be able to avail themselves to this liquidity. They're not our only partner. Tixbase uses us today for their safe agreements, which is a huge vote of confidence, their employee contracts, their NDAs, and soon they're going to be using us to fund promoters who need liquidity tied to their forward ticket sales. Dexalot, another Avalanche project, is going to be using us in 2026. We're working with them so that all of their customers can immediately access AA credit, like the state of Wyoming's payables, through their DEX. AvaCloud is going to be using us to bring our entire suite of services into any L1 out of the box. That means that any business that wants to migrate on-chain will be able to immediately create authenticated Ricardian contracts and immediately get liquidity for those approved payors. This is a massive market. There's $1.2 trillion of accounts receivables floating around in America today. By 2033, there's going to be $2.5 trillion. For Wyoming's sake, they have $6 billion in their budget, which is roughly the size of the budget of the city of New York, to put it in perspective. And we think we can pull 24% APY out of those receivables by purchasing at a 3% discount. Our team comes from real world assets. We have brought billions of dollars of real estate on chain, DeFi, liquid staking, Accenture, consulting, finance, even media. And so our team is purpose built for this. We span 10 different developers on our team. Everybody on our team codes or works directly in the product. And it's a builders first culture. And that's why we've been able to ship so fast. And I look forward to any questions you guys may have about Hashfire.
John, I just want to say really, really appreciate what you folks have built thus far. And then, of course, what you're going to build moving into the future. I'm going to go ahead and get our judges up here to see if they have any questions for you. Let's get you. Judges, do you have any questions for our friends over at Hashfire?
Maybe I'll jump in. When I see what you have, it sort of makes me think of it's like DocuSign plus bill plus accounts receivable lending, and how the data from each of those then services the others. Given that that's a significant aggregation, I mean, there's significant players in each of those verticals, so it's aggregating a really large chunk of things. What's the vehicle, the pain point you're attacking that gets folks to come into the system? Where do you find that people say, oh, I need this solved, and therefore you get the synergies across all three?
Yeah, great question. So, fundamentally, I look at DocuSign like Craigslist. We can unbundle a lot of businesses out of DocuSign that they never really took the time to build out. One of those is allowing an end-to-end contract lifecycle management workflow, real-time updates, dedicated dashboard. We win on that, and we're cheaper, frankly, with better authentication. Then we move on to Bill. Bill will manage all of your payments, but Bill operates off of the concept that you're still paying to transmit money using TradFi rails. One of their most valuable services is that they'll advance you your money 10 days before it's due as it's moving through the Byzantine, dusty old financial system for 1.5%. So they'll charge you 1.5% for 10 days of liquidity. But that's based off of somebody already uploading that payment and it's already in transit. I think that 1.5% goes to zero with the blockchain because we can now make that same transaction on these rails for a penny instantly. And so the question becomes, where's the pain point? Well, we iterate backwards. The pain point is, I need 30 days of liquidity, not 10 days for something that's already in transit, because that doesn't exist anymore. This is where we come in. We'll give you 97% of that purchase order in 250 milliseconds. And that wins. And that's the draw. We see the DocuSign portion of our business as top of funnel. It's out there to bring people in, show them that this is better, and then convert them to our 1% per transaction margin that we get for actually factoring these receivables.
That's great. Thank you.
Now, just to kind of start moving things along, we do need to have our judges start to deliberate. So I'm going to actually pitch things over to Michael. He's going to talk a little bit about what the judges will be deliberating on and how the judging will work overall. John, thank you so much for your presentation, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And I'll pitch it over to Michael. You got the floor, my friend.
Thanks, Brady. Hey, y'all. So, as mentioned earlier, myself and these three folks here are going to be jumping into a different meeting. We will be discussing what you all just heard, and we will be back in a short 15 minutes and announce the winners then. So we will now be turning it over, though, to our team for a conversation on the state of the Avalanche ecosystem and what's up next for the rest of 2025. So, Breevy, we're going to all hop off. You can take us off the stage, and we will jump back in shortly.
I got you, my friend. I'll let our judges deliberate, and while they're doing that and finalizing the winners of today's pitch competition, we're going to shift gears to a conversation you, of course, are not going to want to miss. Up next is a special fireside chat featuring John Naha, Chief Business Officer over at Avalanche, as well as Brian Lieberman, Director of Ecosystem Relations over at Avalanche. They'll explore the present and future of Avalanche, touching on real-world adoption, tokenized assets, global partnership, and what's next for builders across the ecosystem. So let me get them on up here, and then let's dive in. So I guess just to kind of, first off, hi, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning from the West. Good morning from the West Coast, everybody. Good to see you today, Brad.
Good morning.
Brian, you're on mute.
Brian, you're on mute.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, classic. Can't start a Zoom call or online call without someone doing that. So I'm happy that I get to be that person.
It's absolutely necessary, my friend. I guess just to kind of kick everything off, looking back over this past year, what developments within the Avalanche ecosystem have you found kind of the most impactful or even surprising?
How much time do we have?
We got 15 minutes. We're trying to keep it succinct.
Look, all right, let me set the stage on a couple things that I think really mattered and that have allowed us to really go out there and deliver on a lot of things. I think at the end of last year, the Edna upgrade really kind of culminated the technical vision for Avalanche by allowing for public permissionless chains. Up until that point, all of the Avalanche L1s were private permissioned or permission public. Really wanted to drive that crypto innovation home. So the public permissionless chains really were the final leg of that stool, as well as optimizations to the C chain and lowering the fees. Then most recently, the Octane upgrade, we dropped the fees again on the C chain, and we're continually improving the performance of the C chain. So single chain performance at the C chain level for anybody and everybody, tied with the ability to launch an Avalanche L1, regardless of what kind of constraints you need for compliance, jurisdiction, use case, or asset type, really gives everybody the ability to really build and develop whatever it is they want without having technical limitations. I often like to say the general purpose chains are a solution in search of a problem, or they're, a platform that asks people to fit their use case, need, jurisdiction, or asset into that kind of framework. We do the opposite. We allow people to build the platform that's best suited for them. And then with that, I think you've seen everything from, FIFA to Balcony with the tokenized deeds, with significantly heightened activity on the C chain. We spent 2 years moving things off of the C chain to highlight L1. Now we're kind of focusing on bringing things back onto the C chain in harmony with the rest of the L1s, and showing how that interoperability between the C chain and all the different L1s really starts to play out. MapleStory Universe has done that as well, off the grid, with their own chains. We have Inversion coming on, bringing GDP on chain. There's just, so many things across the board. Tickspace and SI tickets on the NFT ticketing front. Up top on loyalty and rewards. A lot of movement on DeFi. So, it's not a single kind of vertical. It's how we have all these different verticals and all these different international teams working together to build a kind of coherent and supportive ecosystem for all the assets and all the chains.
And it's been an absolute blessing kind of watching you folks work too as well, because just seeing all of the different innovations, the different partnership announcements that have been announced thus far in this year. I mean, this year is absolutely huge. I mean, this is a year where Balcony announces digitizing 240 billion in real estate assets on chain. That's nothing to scoff at in any way. If anyone's ever seen the graphic showing the difference between, let's say, $1 and $1 billion, and then now we're talking 240 billion in real estate. I mean, Avalanche is making absolutely huge moves. And also, Brian, I want to ask you the same question. Like, what have you found kind of most impactful or kind of surprising over the course of this the year kind of just started in a way, like 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, the year started 6 months ago. I joined Avalanche about 3 months ago. So I guess my perspective is, I would say a little bit more fresh, but really, I think for me, what I've seen kind of be very impactful is not only all of these, kind of great founders and projects launching, but really it's the technology starting to scale and work. So I think if you look at, the ICM messages that are starting, there's almost 10,000 a day over the past month. In May, you've seen an absolute monster increase. So what's really cool is that I think over the course of, to John's point, there's been over the past 2 years, some very deep development on the technical side. We now have the infrastructure ready to, capture, I think, what is going to be a pretty significant explosion, happening in the ecosystem. So yeah, to your point, FIFA, Tickspace, up top, Inversion, all that great stuff, all coming on chain. MapleStory too. I think they were doing like $4 million of volume, almost $3 million of 3 million, NFTs traded all in like the past 2 weeks. So, you're talking serious scale, all happening, within the Avalanche ecosystem. And you haven't necessarily seen, what I think maybe a couple of years ago, you'd have like fees and gas fees spike. That's not happening today, right? So it's showing you that, hey, we're here and we can handle this at scale, and also, manage like multi-billion-dollar government entity level opportunities, which is really cool.
There was a great tweet. I don't know who did it in the community today, but they highlighted that at the peak of 2021, right, during like DeFi Rush and Crobata and all that stuff, I think the chain was doing like 20 TPS. We're doing double that now for a fraction of the cost of gas.
Exactly.
So that we're showing, I think, how the EVM really scales. If you go to the gas tracker for Tether, it'll show that we are by far the cheapest and most decentralized EVM for doing transactions on the C chain. And that's going to matter when you're moving assets between the C chain and other L1s and everything else in between, right? So I think ultimately what this shows is anyone can build anything on Avalanche. That's a kind of a big net, but when you're really kind of trying to attract everybody and really allow for people to build cool, novel things, that's what you really need to do. And we have not, as an industry up until this point, really brought about really novel solutions. We've kind of done the reinvent thing over and over and over again. I think showing what's possible with Avalanche L1s or the C chain really allows for that. You can start on the C chain and graduate to your own chain if and when needed. And then I think you're starting to see with Balcony, with FIFA, people come on chain, but with their own chain. And that previously wasn't available, right? That wasn't possible for a lot of users. So, some things need their own chain, some things want their own chain. And if they don't need it or need it, they're going to want it, right? Like FIFA is going to want to own their environment and control their environment. Balcony is going to need that for government. And that's one one county in New Jersey that's 240 billion, right? That's a 30x what the current highest assets on chain is, which sits on Ethereum. That's 30x what they have on RWA.xyz. And that's one county. Now take that across the US, take that across other regions in the world. We have teams in Korea, Japan, the UAE, Middle East, Turkey, everywhere else working on very similar things. You can see that explosion that this industry has really been waiting for, right? Of assets coming on chain in a meaningful way. They haven't before because the infrastructure wasn't there. It was come use my solution. Well, these guys all need their own solution. So, whether you're a payments app or a logistics app or administrative tooling, whatever it is, you're going to need your own environment. And if you're a huge enterprise or institution, you're going to want it, right? You're going to want to control that. So if we're really going to rewire the plumbing of the global financial system in some meaningful way, it's not going to all happen on one chain. Every bank's going to want their own chain. Every state's going to want their own chain. Everyone's going to want their own chain in the same way everyone wants and has their own website today, right? Like, you're going to need to allow for that horizontal scaling, and we can do that. So I think you're just starting to see what's been possible. And kudos to the people that we've worked with up until this point who believed in it and jumped on before it was ready, and kind of worked towards that mission so that when it was ready, they were able to deploy. So if that's the stuff that we have out right now with what we were promising, and imagine the things that we're going to be doing now that it's been delivered and we can point to big success stories.
So like this is absolutely massive, right? Like you named a bunch of huge partnerships, right? Balcony, 240 billion in real estate. We have MapleStory doing just a crazy amount of transactions on the daily. Can we talk a little bit about the role of AvaCloud and kind of facilitating these kind of large scale entities to kind of come on chain so seamlessly? Because I know before it was not this easy.
So, at Alva Labs, our primary focus and goal is to drive the growth and adoption of the Avalanche ecosystem. Conversely, we also look to fill in voids where needed. There was a point where, you want to launch an Avalanche on1, it's not that hard, but you need help, right? You could run your own server, but everyone opted eventually for Google, for Google Cloud and AWS and Azure and all the others. So AvaCloud essentially came in to fill that void. And now after then, you've had the help of other third parties and ecosystem partners. Gelato's new and supporting the ecosystem. So is Zeev, and there's many others that are coming as well. But AvaCloud knows it the best. They were the first to do it. And they have a leg up on everybody else because they're just the most comfortable and the most knowledgeable about the Avalanche ecosystem and its architecture. AvaCloud effectively is blockchain as a managed service. You don't need to worry about having engineers working on distributed systems and running validators and having an explorer and most recently with their privacy tool, right? So if you're a company, if you're developers, if you are actually building the applications that are going to drive adoption of this technology and of Avalanche, you don't have to worry about running the chain, right? Like running the chain is a commoditized thing and is going to be in the background. Every other ecosystem out there is like our chain, because that's what they sell, or that's what they're pitching the value to. For us, it's the applications are going to drive the assets. They're going to bring the users. And if you're a great founder, the last thing you should worry about is where you're putting validators and how you're running the stake and all these other technical complexities. So you hire somebody to do it. It's affordable. You cut a check or send a wire or pay with crypto at the end of every month. And it just makes life easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, John. I think that's one of the advantages of coming to work with us, frankly, at Avalanche, is that we've thought about a lot of these things in the kind of life cycle process of a business. And so when you're coming to work with us, not only do you get kind of back end support if you choose to work with AvaCloud, but we're here to support you, on the marketing side, on the capital raising side, on the distribution side, on go to market, and really be a trusted partner in your business, right? Which is really great, and I think a lot of partners will be able to attest to that, which is really exciting, and I think is a testament to all the great work that we've been doing here.
Also, I'd say when you deal with government, when you deal with enterprises, when you deal with institutions, the ones that are serious. I recently did a podcast in which I said sometimes I get shocked at the level of degeneracy of enterprise institutions, because some of them come up with these crazy ideas and then they ask for a ton of money, and it's like, but this is your business. Why do we have to fund your business? Like, why do you you want us to carry all the downside risk, and then if it works, great, you get to go get a promotion and take the upside. You know, we look at it differently, and when you deal with real partners, like the ones that are building real things, such as the Nexons, such as the off the grid, such as the balcony, and everything else, they want a real partner, a professional services organization that will keep SLAs, that will keep you running on time. They want to pay for a service and get that service back, right? And oftentimes you see in this industry, people do a big headline, they do this big thing, they announce something, and then it never happens, because it's great on paper and it's great to think about these things, but there's actual work that needs to be done. So like for most people, I oftentimes see that the announcement is the end of the relationship, or for us, it's the beginning. Like that's when we start. Like AvaCloud steps in and makes sure your stuff is running. We come in and we connect you. Brian is doing an amazing job on his side, helping connect with VCs and other investors and other partners. And we work with exchanges and wallet providers and other potential partners to really connect the dots so that you're not living on an island, right? You are really part of an ecosystem that is interconnected, that has support, that has, help from other founders, other builders, not just the technology.
I really love this extreme deep level of support and just willingness to help partners along the journey to Web3, so that they don't have to feel like they have to do this alone, right? Because I think that, some enterprises, some institutions may see the road, the journey that they have to take in order to build this thing. And then they may see and they say, oh man, it looks kind of complicated. But I love that specifically on the Avalab side, AvaCloud, we're abstracting away all these complications. We're saying, hey, like we know what we're doing with this, and we can help you achieve all of your goals. And I just think that's like super beautiful. Another thing I also kind of wanted to talk about is, what do you feel like would be the next frontier for Avalanche's expansion and innovation?
Brian, you kick this off.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess for me, I'll kind of talk about it as like where I see, some really interesting opportunities for us specifically. So, when I talk to a lot of investors, they hear, or when they say Avalanche, they kind of go, okay, we know you for gaming, we know you for, the success you've had at enterprise. And especially within like some consumer and sports applications, where I think, I'm really excited about kind of the next phase of what we can do. And I know there's a lot of folks watching here on Arena, but it's things like that. It's kind of this social layer, which is really exciting. So to all you folks who are watching on Arena, I think I saw a tweet earlier today that says, I think there's almost 1,000 people watching live streaming on Arena, which is pretty incredible. I think, YouTube was like, a little bit less than that. So it's kind of amazing to see that, native social applications are actually gaining traction within our ecosystem. And so that's, a space that I'm very excited about. And then, more so from I would say, again, leaning into the enterprise business application side of things, I think, stablecoins and cross-border payments is just an absolutely massive opportunity. And, kind of calling back to, the technical upgrades that we've made and, how inexpensive it is to actually operate within the Avalanche ecosystem, you're going to see, in my opinion, when you start comparing, stablecoin transfer costs of things that are, $1 to send your $100 or 50 cents or 0.002 of a penny, which I think, on Avalanche, you can kind of get to. That's very impactful. So I think there's a massive kind of opportunity space for us to capture there as well. So that's what I'm excited about personally. And yeah, looking forward to kind of supporting a lot of folks in our ecosystem.
I mean, I'd say the thing that excites me the most is just kind of the interplay between everything we're doing, right? Whether it's DeFi applications on the C chain, and then enterprise and institutional and gaming and government and crypto native and payments and stable coins, like Brian mentioned, and all these L1s all kind of working together and working with the C chain, and the C chain really becoming that hub where you have 100, 200, 500 Avalanche L1s, and those tokens flow to the C chain. They can be deposited on Banki or Aave and borrowed against. They can be traded on LFJ or Pharaoh, and then they can get exchange listings straight off the C chain, so that these teams don't have to go to every exchange and have their chain integrated and indexed and do all of the hard work that we did for the longest time for Avox. We can we can do that to support all these L1s and to see how these assets move between C chain and L1s and everything else. And then what excites me is when we start to see kind of innovations and use cases pop up between two different L1s, right? Like if you have an enterprise one and a ticketing one, well, maybe they start using each other's services, and then you start to see these things all connect and build upon each other and snowball. That's the moment. We're starting to see that now. Our job is to seed it and to support it to get started. I think it takes off once it has enough critical mass. We're getting there.
100% agree. And I guess just to kind of start closing things down here, I have to ask you this for the people out there. I'm sure they're wondering, for developers and entrepreneurs that are just watching today, what advice would you offer for building an impactful project on Avalanche?
I'd say
look
and see what's needed. I'd say look and see what's needed in the market and build for a solution. There's two ways to go about it. You can reinvent or revolutionize. Reinvent looks at things and says, how do we make cross-border better? How do we make payments better? How do we make X, Y, or Z better? And you can do it faster, cheaper, more efficient on chain, right? We're seeing this with Balcony. We see this with so many else. What's exciting to me and what I think would be great is for something completely new. Something like take a chance, take a swing, right? Like what's going to be the social media moment, which was Web 2, which was Web 2's killer app, right? Or what's going to be the email moment, which was Web 1's killer app? Like go build something new using blockchain, not because it's on blockchain, right? Like everybody wants to do things X, Y, Z, but on chain. Like no, go build something cool that blockchain just allows for. Like nobody's going to care if you have 1 billion users or 100 million users or something, if it's on chain or not. Go build the best products, the best tools that people want to use, that people will pay to use. Build real businesses, build things that matter and that make an impact. This technology allows you to do that.
Yeah, I would kind of echo similarly. I'll say it probably a little bit differently, but it's, build something where you can test and iterate quickly to find kind of like your core community of folks who are going to start actually using the product. Get some initial traction, and then that's going to allow you to have kind of your like 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100 type conversations. Obviously, my lens is within kind of like the investor view, where you're coming and looking to raise capital. It's always easier to kind of do a show and tell versus just like, hey, this is my idea, right? And so if you can kind of scrounge up even the smallest amount of traction just to prove like, hey, there is something here, that's, in my opinion, is very meaningful. And, to me, that's a really good kind of rock to uncover.
Awesome. Well, first off, John, Brian, I really appreciate you folks for being willing to pop on and kind of talk about the overall state of Avalanche, kind of give people kind of the know-how on what has happened and kind of that future know-how as well, like what we can kind of see as far as impact is concerned. Our judges are actually officially done, so I'm going to go ahead and pop you guys off. Give you a good
Thanks so much, Brady. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Brady. Good luck to everybody.
Hey, thank you. All right, for now the moment we've all been waiting for, everybody. This is absolutely huge. Our judges have returned. The votes are in, and it's time to announce the winners of Codebase Pitch Day, and the team's taking home a share of $500,000 in prizes. Yes, you heard that right. That is absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and announce this thing. I won't tease you folks too much. In third place, earning $100,000, we have our friends over at the Indexing Company. Thank you folks so much. You guys are amazing. And then coming up as our second place winner, we have our friends over at Nameless will be receiving $150,000, with third place receiving $100,000. And then last but certainly not least, in first place, and I'm going to go ahead and get this drum roll started, my friends. We have Hashfire as our first place winner. Let me get you folks on up here really quick. Let's get John up here. John.
Breathing.
I love the energy you're coming with, John. John, it's official, my friend. You are the winner of the Codebase Virtual Pitch Day. You just won $250,000 for your project. Yeah, make that face. Ooh. This is absolutely huge. As a matter of fact, hold on. We got do a bow. Take a bow or something, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you for what you have built so far and what you're planning on building into the future. I guess I just want to ask you a quick question, my friend, if
Please.
I can. How are you feeling in this moment?
I'm feeling like my team is amazing. They worked really hard, and I'm super proud of them. And I'd like to thank them, and I'd like to thank Avalanche, this amazing ecosystem, and Codebase, which is an incredible program. And if anybody's out there and they're listening to this and they're thinking about building in this ecosystem, hit me up. I highly recommend it, and I hope I could stay a part of Codebase going forward because I'm really grateful for everything Codebase gave us.
Hey, and we're really grateful for you, my friend. Like what you're building is absolutely huge. Very, very excited to see what you do with the funding, where you're going to be at in the next few months and the next few years. This is super, super duper exciting, my friend. And just want to shout you out because you're doing great, you and the team.
We're going to be right here. We're going to be right here in Avalanche in this ecosystem building real things. So thank you so much, Breevy. Thank you to the judges and thank you to the Codebase team. Really appreciate it.
Hey, it's no problem at all. And for all of our friends out there, I'm going to put up on screen. Boom, there we go. I also, really, really quick, want to shout out Anna really quick on the back end. You didn't get to see her throughout this whole thing, but trust me, she has been extremely, extremely helpful with keeping this program going in the background. So just wanted to give you a shout out, Anna. For everyone out there, if you are looking to apply for Codebase Season 4, please make sure you go ahead and scan this QR code, and then we'll go ahead and direct you to there. I'm also going to say, man, hats off to every single person that presented today. Hats off to you. You did something that was extremely difficult. You are building in Web3. You are building things that real use cases that people are actually going to use, every single one of you. And I want to just say hats off to all of you because you folks did absolutely amazing today. But now that's it, my friends. That's it. I really, really appreciate the audience for popping on today. Please give our friends at the indexing company, Nameless and Hashfire, a huge shout out, a huge congratulations, mad support, mad hand claps, everything. And we will be right back here for Season 4 with all of you lovely folks who just watched today. Now you can participate. Make sure you go ahead and scan the QR code. This has been awesome, my friends. I'm just going to end this thing by simply saying peace.